Hello everyone, Vendra here with a rare non-Path of Exile video. Today I will be talking about Dwarven Realms. What is Dwarven Realms? It's a game that is basically a combination of your favorite survivor game, like think of Vampire Survivors, Brotato, or any similar game, and then put RPG crafting systems that you know from Path of Exile or Last Epoch or Torchlight Infinite on top of that. One of the best things about Dwarven Realms is that so many things change each season. Game changes more than any other game I know, and I've always been very vocal about this when it comes to Path of Exile, that I don't think it changes enough. So I'm very happy to see that there are games where there are drastic changes every single time I open it again. Even if some changes are not as good as you would want them to be or you disagree with them, I always think any change is better than no change. I want to be very clear about this. This is a sponsored video, but by now I have almost 100 hours played in Dwarven Realms. So, it's one of those things where, yes, it is sponsored, but I've played the game enough to be able to talk about it without it just being full on sellout. Oh, I played this game for 2 hours. Look how good it is. I've actually put in the hours, and I actually feel like I have a decent understanding of the game, and I can give my opinion on it, and you guys can make your own opinion, whether you agree or disagree. The gameplay loop in Dwarven Realms is so simple yet so fun. One of the best things is you log into the game, and within the first seconds, you are already killing monsters in your first Rapture. Raptures function both as a campaign zones and then later on as your endgame progression system, where you can basically go to infinite, but eventually you will be hardwalled by your character and you will have to farm to progress. They also added a Delve system recently called Underground, which basically works exactly like you would expect Delve to work in Path of Exile 1 if you're familiar with that. And it is an alternative progression endgame system, so I'm just happy they are adding more and more content to the game, as I think this game, few seasons from now, is gonna be overflowing with content in a similar fashion that Path of Exile 1 is. There's also a bunch of unique dungeons that have their specific bosses and whatnot. I actually really like what they did with the early game skill system in this game now. They changed it in a way where now you are really incentivized to use 3 different offhands early on, which allows you to try out different skills and figure out what you actually like and not like and choose your favorite. You have to choose your favorite eventually, because in the end game you do want to use one skill. Sometimes you can use an extra supportive skill, but usually just one, as the stats from the offhands and belt are multiplicative. And you should be able to swap a lot easier nowadays than you were before, as there's no skill specific restrictions outside of some gear stats. The crafting system has also improved a lot this season. It's no longer a dreadful grind where you have to check every single item. Now the items actually have good indicators, and it is a lot easier to go through them a lot faster. One thing I will say, I think the game does a really bad job at showing you what I called a Titan Forge item. Yeah, World of Warcraft, don't judge me. Where certain stats can roll double their usual modifier, but the game doesn't communicate that with you well enough. And if you don't know it, you will basically not know until you actually play the game enough to learn what the expected values are. So if anyone from Dwarven Realms dev team ever watches this video, please include a doublet mod indicator or something along those lines. It would help newer players so much, and it would help me a lot, even though I already have almost 100 hours. I still don't remember every single stat, especially when you play something that you haven't played before, and especially if the values changes between seasons. It is very confusing not to have that showcased on the item somehow. So please, that would be my one suggestion of what should get changed if there was one thing that needs to get addressed. They also changed how stats work in this season, and there's both upsides and downsides to it. One thing that I think is really amazing is that it gives you a clear direction now. Each stat is tied to a weapon type, and it makes it a lot easier to get into the game, as the game basically tells you, if you want to play moles, you should be stacking stamina. If you want to play magery, you want to be stacking intelligence and whatnot. So I'm personally not a huge fan, because I feel like it limits my options a little bit, especially because I like to play Dwarven Realms on hardcore, so I'm incentivized to pretty much always play moles, since stamina gives you a little bit extra HP and whatnot. But I do think the system makes it a lot easier to get into the game. because otherwise the stats were a lot harder to allocate properly. The one thing I personally like the most is the in-game leaderboard system. You know that I always like Ladder in Path of Exile, but it's way more than just that. Not only you see people's levels, but you also see their progression system in terms of how high they went in raptures. You can also see their boss skills, like the number of boss skills and what bosses they killed. And you can check their build out to see what skills they are using. That system is so great, and I really wish other RPGs would learn from that and actually steal it, because I think having that information in game is very, very valuable. With that said, I think Borderlands is an amazing game if you want to just chill and kill a lot of monsters. If you want to take a break from stressful PoE2 combat, I would definitely recommend this game. If you want to check the game out, it's definitely worth the few bucks it costs, and you can click the link below to get to the Steam page of the game. And that is gonna be everything from me for today. Again, thanks Borderlands for sponsoring this video. I really like your game, and I hope you guys continue updating it as much as you have been. And I do think this game has a lot of future ahead of it.